here, welcome back to a brand new video and to another TV discussion. We're going to be reviewing Inside No.9 Series 6 in the scorching summer heat of like 20 odd degrees, like 26 degrees is it today? So back in January I did a TV discussion of Inside No.9, and if you need a little recap, Inside No.9 is the British horror comedy anthology show on BBC Two, created by Steve Pemberton and Reece Shearsmith. Every episode is a different setting, different cast, characters, different sort of genre. 1 week it's a comedy, next is a horror, next drama, etc. There's usually a twist in each episode, and yeah, it's just one of the best shows on television, in my opinion. And the 6th season has just come and gone like that over the past few weeks. And, you know, going into it, I was really excited, but I was also slightly nervous because, you know, it is their 6th season. Not many shows make it that far, and I was just a little bit cautious that maybe they'd run out of steam. Turns out they hadn't, and I'm going to review all 6 episodes, and yeah, it's simple as that. Let's go. So, the opening episode, Wuthering Heist, one that has got a fair bit of flack from fans, and I don't really see why, because I thought this was a really entertaining episode, and I just had a lot of fun with it. This episode's a straightforward comedy, you know, it's, apart from the ending when everyone gets killed off in pretty gory fashion, it's a straightforward comedy, and I thought it was really funny, and a lot of the jokes, for me, landed, like the meta humour, the fourth wall breaking, and certain gags like the Bohemian Rhapsody copyright joke. I thought that was just really funny, and when you first watch it, it really catches you off guard. And rewatching the episode for this for this video, there were certain jokes and bits of wordplay that I didn't pick up on first time round, but were really funny when I picked up on them. Admittedly, there were bits of humour that did feel a bit off-brand for the No.9 lads, and also the twist felt a bit odd. Even on rewatch, when I picked up on what they were hinting at the start, it did feel a bit odd. So they're my only real criticisms, though. But this episode had a real energy to it, whether it was the quirky premise or the actors giving it their all. Particularly Reece, when he's doing the Italian accent, is just really funny. And yeah, the energy comes off the screen, and it's a simple but effective episode and enjoyable at that. 8 out of 10. Episode 2 now, Simon Says, and my god did this season peak early, because in my opinion, this is the best of the season. So the premise of this episode is this fictional TV show, The Ninth Circle, get it, 9, ended really badly. A bit like how when Game of Thrones ended, there was a massive backlash, you know, it's sort of looking, that kind of thing of like the fan backlash, and this creepy fan, Simon, played by Reece Shearsmith, sort of is blackmailing and manipulating the creator of the show, Spencer, played by Steve Pemberton, to sort of bring it back. And oh my god, this absolutely ticks all the boxes for me. I mean, the setting is a classic No.9 setting, a flat. It really gets the claustrophobia and the uneasy atmosphere right there. Pemberton and Shearsmith, it's not necessarily the two-hander, but they are the main players in this episode, although they do have a couple of the characters popping in, including a character played by Lindsay Duncan, who, for Doctor Who fans, she was in The Waters of Mars, Adelaide Brooke. Just a little tidbit. But yeah, Pemberton and Shearsmith, they are excellent in this episode, and they really don't pick sides with like the fan or the creator, because yes, Simon is a very disturbing, manipulative, creepy character, but Spencer, the creator, is arrogant and selfish, and to put it in Pemberton's words, a bit of an arsehole. So they don't pick sides, and it does leave you guessing of, well, who should we side with? And it's really good how they do that. It's a real good back and forth. There are various aspects of like fan culture that's explored, you know, fan fiction, fan forums, polls, stanning, shipping, all that stuff. There's a scene where they even do a podcast. I mean, does that remind you of anybody, eh? But I'd also like how they explore like a positive side of fan culture with the character of Gavin, who comes in a bit later on, and you know, he's a loving, caring, passionate fan, very creative, and I like how they show both sides. And you know, being part of the Doctor Who fandom, you definitely see both sides of, you know, fandoms, and I think it's always good to show a balance, and it's a perfect, you know, representation of fan culture, and I just think it's done so well. The ending as well, I mean, it is very creepy, like, near the end, and, you know, the fact that both Simon and Gavin get killed, they literally die for the show they love, it's so ironic, and that final line, you know, after the show is brought back and it's a massive success now, you know, the final line from Steve's character, let's just say I did it for the fans, what a note to end, arguably, in my opinion, one of the best episodes in the show now. It's cracked my top 10 of all the show. It's an absolute classic. 10 out of 10. Episode 3 now, Lip Service. Now, this is one that I've seen a lot of praise for. On IMDb, it's the highest rated of this season. But I wasn't a big fan of it, if I'm honest. Now, every season of No.9 has that one episode that you aren't really keen on, and even though it's not necessarily bad, it's one that you don't click with. That was the case with Lip Service for Series 6 for me. Don't get me wrong, there were positives in the episode. The setting of the hotel room, it does lend that sort of claustrophobic atmosphere to it. I think all the cast were great. Sean Clifford was a pretty good guest star. Reece Shearsmith, for what little he had to do as, the hotel manager, this crusty, guy who keeps interrupting. I thought he was really good. Had a bit of Basil Fawlty to him. But in my opinion, Steve Pemberton stole the show. I thought he's a phenomenal performer, and I just think the raw emotion that he brought to it was very real, and it was brilliant. It was a brilliant performance. But for me, the concept just didn't really engage me, and sometimes that can be proven wrong with a concept or a premise that doesn't sound that interesting, but its execution is brilliant. But that wasn't really the case for this one, and the twist at the end with the assassination attempt, and it just felt really out of place. Because prior to this episode, Pemberton's character, the reason he's felt very emotional is because he had split up with his wife, and it was it was sort of one of the straight dramas that No.9 usually does. So just throwing in like an assassination plan and Pemberton's character getting shot from across a building seems really out of place and really far-fetched. And even though there are hints in the episode that not all is as it seems, they could have done something a bit different and just something more believable and something that fit right with what the episode was going for. So yeah, the weakest of the series in my opinion. 7 out of 10. But not bad. Episode 4 now, Hurry Up and Wait. This episode had a lot going for it in my opinion. I think, the premise of, they're filming this police drama out in the countryside, I think it's really good, and I like how they explore, that yes, TV can be very exciting when being made, but also, there is a lot of tedious waiting around, and that applies to all kinds of different entertainment, whether that be film production, TV production, theatre. I mean, especially theatre when you're backstage and waiting for your cue when you're not on for a while. It can be very tedious, yeah. And this family's caravan acts as the green room where the actors wait, and it's a really good setting, because these kind of caravans can be quite claustrophobic, so and that awkward atmosphere is really there. And not only that, but the family also add to that, whether it's, Bev, this like 30-year-old in a dressing gown and holding a doll. It's quite strange, and like the parents are quite, oddball characters. Yeah, it does feel like a kind of the Denton family sketches from The League of Gentlemen. And also some of the other characters like Joe, the annoying grown-up, or having Adrian Dunbar playing himself. That was a really nice touch. Now, as I said, they're filming a police drama about this event that happened where they are around like 20 years prior to this, and the family were around then. And Reese's character he almost gets a bit too much into character and starts exploring and like investigating and comes to the conclusion that this family were behind it all, but not in the way he thinks. And when I first watched the episode on broadcast, I was really invested in it, and there is still that investment there, but looking back, there are definitely a few holes when it does feel like they are stretching a bit, and yeah, the last sort of 10 minutes do sort of falter in that regard. But the very final scene is pretty creepy, and rewatching it, I do understand what they were going for. So yeah, a really, really good episode with a few flaws here and there, but a very solid one. 8 out of 10 for me. So the penultimate episode, How Do You Plead? Now, I know I did say Simon Says is my favourite episode of the season. This is a close second, another absolute classic. This is a bit of a footnote for the whole show in general, because it's the first time that we've had a returning guest star, because, No.9 always tends to get these famous British faces in each episode, and that's one of the big appeals for them. But this is the first time that one of them has returned in the form of Derek Jacobi, previously appearing in The Devil of Christmas as a narrator. Here, he's playing this former barrister who's near death, and his performance was astonishing. He could be very crotchety and, cold and a bit cruel and shouty and loud, but also had a very sincere, soft, sweeter side, and could be very scared, especially towards the end. And his performance has so many layers on it, and absolutely incredible performance. And I think he played off Reese very well, because it was mainly Reese within this episode. Steve wasn't in it an awful lot, but yeah, I think the two had very good rapport with each other, and yeah, it was a very sincere episode, but with some really good horror mixed in throughout. This episode is comfortable in the horror genre, definitely. You've got the old apartment setting, you've got the nighttime, dark, moody lighting. There's the nightmare scene with the child choking on the tangerine, which haunts Reese's character. And then near the end, like the last sort of 10 minutes, when it strikes midnight, and Steve's character, who is secretly is basically the devil, he's coming to take Jacoby's character away. He's dying, and it's a bargain with the devil. And you find out as well that Reese's character was the one that choked that kid all those years ago, and it all comes crashing down, and it's just a really dark ending. It wasn't an overly complex episode, but there's definitely a lot of layers to it. It was just great horror, quite bittersweet in a way, and just a fantastic episode. 10 out of 10. And finally, last night of the Proms, the finale to the series, and a very different finale. It's not, the finales of Inside Number 9 tend to be like How Do You Plead, more horror-based episode. This one is something I don't think Inside Number 9 has really done. Political satire with bits of religion thrown in there, and a bit of comedy, a bit of drama. It's very different. And that's not a bad thing, because I think this was a great episode. Now, the synopsis for this episode is as follows. Dawn and Mick are hosting their annual late night of the Proms party, the perfect antidote to post-Brexit Britain. I was quite curious as to, what did that mean? And, you soon realise that it is meant to be commenting on not just Brexit, but recent politics and the role that sort of nationalism has played within it. Because obviously this is a very, this family here, they're quintessentially British, they've got all the flags out, and it's a party, and and they're sort of commenting on how kind of, for some people, it can turn sort of quite self-destructive, and, they can be very xenophobic to other people of other nationalities. You see what happens, there's this other character, Yusuf, who is just he's just a stranger. He ends up in the house, presumably just because he's lost. And some of the characters act very aggressively towards him, particularly Reese's character. He's saying, put your hands up, thinking he's some kind of terrorist, which is just not true, and it hammers in that point of like, how these kind of things, are very destructive views, and yeah. But I think the presentation of the episode is really good, whether it's the actors and the energy that they put in, or the set design of the manor is really good, or just the rising levels in tone, whether it goes from cheerful to somber. I just think, it is new ground for Number 9, and I have a lot of admiration for this episode. 9 out of 10. So there we are, all 6 episodes there reviewed, and here's a little ranking of them from best to worst, my favourites and least favourites. Yeah, overall I thought this was a really good season, and potentially one of the best. Yeah, it possibly is one of the best, but I want to know what you guys think. Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And this is Clack of the Geek, signing out.